There is so much that we can talk about in terms of period pain and mental disorders. Tell us a little bit more about your brand.
Thanks, Val. Yeah, no, super excited to connect with you guys as well. We've been following Rif Care and are really excited about what you guys are doing, and congratulations on your recent fundraise and everything like that. So yeah, I'm founder and CEO of Wave By. I am an OBGYN. I work at Planned Parenthood, and then I'm bringing this new brand to market. We basically are a cycle health or a menstrual health company. We do over-the-counter medications and supplements for period pain. We also have a cycle regulator, so we're really focused on helping women feel at their baseline or feel normal all month long. So giving them that time back, meaning allowing them to be the person they want to be during their period and not being who their period wants them to be. So making sure they feel like they're in control and have the tools at their disposal to interact during their menstrual cycle in a way that feels authentic to who they are.
So you work with patients all day. What was the number one complaint you saw from your patients coming into the clinic about their period?
I don't have a history of working in the clinic setting. I have a history of working in the hospital setting. So I don't have experience one-on-one with patients primarily on GYN complaints, but just from my experience, it really is usually like a vaginal complaint, like itchiness, discharge, smell, discomfort. When it comes to periods specifically, I think when people's period pain is really bad, it impacts their life entirely. I mean, I did start this company because a lot of time after their procedure, a patient would sit up and say, well, at least it's not as bad as my period. And that to me felt very unfair, that somebody could have like a surgical intervention and prefer that over the experience they have during their menstrual cycle. So as we both know, I mean, it's just amazing how often people are experiencing the different parts of the cycle. Like you're always in it. You're always in the cycle, and you're always in some part of the cycle.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to think what a huge part of our lives the menstrual cycle is, and how little attention we actually give to it or respect for it traditionally. Yeah. I mean, I think we're changing that, and we're trying to change that, but traditionally it's not allowed. There's no space for it. It's not allowed.
Yeah, I mean, I even know most women I talk to don't even realize that they are in their cycle. Do you know what I mean? Of course, yes. We talk about the 4 phases, but I realize that maybe it's 10% of women who've caught on to this information. So when you start to explain it as a cycle, and they start to, really sit down and either journal or put into their app or whatever what they're going through during different times of the month, it helps them to be able to treat themselves. I know that you don't really deal with people's periods on a clinical basis, but was this something that you were personally dealing with a heavy period or a regular period?
I have had more trouble with my cycle as I've become perimenopausal. Like I'm starting to, when I feel that my body's very brittle with hormonal changes, so I'm very quick to spot, I'm very quick to have migraines, which I've never had in my life before. So I'm starting to experience the cycle more as I'm, entering the phase of the last part of the life cycle of my menstrual cycle. But what I would say about my connection with the menstrual cycle is that, to me, it is the essence of people's sexual and reproductive health. And understanding the menstrual cycle feels like a basic building block of being connected to who you are and being connected to your body. I believe that in order to achieve your life goals, you need to have a very clear and connected and deep understanding of your sexual and reproductive health. Because if you're not in line with that and you're not able to align that with your life goals, whatever they may be, you're not going to be able to be who you want to be and achieve your potential. So the menstrual cycle is sort of like the underlying building block of you becoming the human you want to be.
Totally. I think your cycle affects your confidence as well. I mean, from confidence, how you feel about yourself, if you feel beautiful one day, like deciding, for me, I do content creation, and some weeks when I'm making content for Rif, I don't want to do it. And I'm like, you know what? I shouldn't do it this week. I should wait 2 weeks. And that would make way more sense. But imagine if I was still trying to force it like I was maybe 2 years ago. So it put me on a completely different plane. I totally get it. So you launched a supplement brand, which I think is a huge feat. There's so much that goes into that. I don't know if you guys had to go to the FDA or get any type of certifications, but what was the biggest hurdle in actually launching supplements? And you're also, making claims and there's probably some type of process you have to do to even be able to say that your product can help someone. What is that process?
So we are both supplements and medications. We do have one medication. It's an FDA-approved medication. It's already an FDA-approved substance. So we didn't have to go through FDA approval for that. In terms of developing the supplement, I did do the research and development myself and only picked components of the product that were already evidence-based to help with some period pain or symptom. And so everything that went into each one of our products had to have high quality evidence behind it that it was going to help in some way. I feel like going into launching the product, we know that it's going to work because we've based it on evidence that already exists, and we're also collecting our own prospective data. When you're making a supplement, I found a partner here in Denver, so it would be close by. And I could check on the process, check on the facility, make sure the facility was clean, make sure that the facility was adherent to good manufacturing practices. I believe in our products. I know that I only put things in there that do have evidence behind them to work in a certain way, but we do have to be careful how we present that information, which I feel limits me in terms of my ability to build trust and credibility with the consumer because I want to say things I'm not able to say.
Yeah. You know what, though? Creators can. If people have a personal experience with your product, they can say it. And that's kind of where we count on different things because I'm like, okay, I can't say it does X, Y, and Z because we have to be so compliant with the FDA. But I'm like, if it's helping you, share your experience because I know that there are women who are using your product who are getting results.
Yes, 100%. Yes. And that's been part of our early push is to have testers, to collect data, to have prospective experience. And so we do send a survey to everyone who has received our product, either for free or paid for it, to really collect that experience, encourage them to tell their story, ask if they're willing to make a video and share. And yeah, I mean, we have incredibly compelling testimonials, and that's probably the most satisfying part of the job is when it starts to come in and you see the impact that you've had on people's lives.
Oh yeah, nothing makes my day more than a positive review. Like we could have so much going on and a huge bill sent to us and then someone does a positive review and I'm like, it's all worth it.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
Fun.
And also so many girls when they go to the doctor are prescribed birth control to deal with, so many different problems. There's nothing wrong with birth control. I think if you want it, that's fine. But if there are underlying issues and it's just being masked by birth control, I think that is an issue. So why did you choose to create a different solution versus, some people who would just go, oh, why don't you just get on this so that your cycle could become regular? Or why don't you just get on this so you can have less cramps?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I think you're totally right. There's a time and a place for hormones and certainly a time and a place to try other options first. Our product really does aim to target the underlying physiology of the way that the menstrual cycle works. So the brain and the ovary communicate. That is what the menstrual cycle is it's a communication back and forth between the ovaries and the brain. And one thing that happens right before your period is your body starts to send out messengers called prostaglandins that are like cramp and bleed, cramp and bleed, cramp and bleed. And you do have a small amount of lining that needs to come out or that will come out, but it's really, really a small amount of tissue. And if you think about it, that tissue is the richest, healthiest, cleanest tissue because it was going to support a pregnancy. And your body's not going to make bad tissue and then put it into a baby. So that tissue is healthy, it's a small amount, it's okay for it to come out. But you don't need to have excess bleeding. It's not serving you to have very severe pain and to bleed for an extended amount of time. And so that the way that you can reduce that amount of cramping and bleeding is to block those messengers, cramp and bleed, and just block them. You don't need them. And so what our products do is they block those messengers, and you start the products 2 days before period bleeding so that they're really blocking those messengers before that period onset so that that whole experience is better. And to your point, it may be that somebody really does need further evaluation if they're having such a severe experience and shouldn't be just pushed to covering it up. But in the meantime, you should try these options over the counter first whether they be a supplement or a medication, or taking the supplement and the medication if you have more severe pain, to block those messengers and see how that changes your experience.
So what are some of the ways as a new brand that you're educating?
We're just so grateful for the opportunity to educate. I was talking to somebody this morning who just felt like in the current women's health environment, there's so much information that's also being retracted, and so it's really an opportunity and a space to try to share evidence-based information and be authentic and be trustworthy and be somebody or a brand that people can come to and can trust. I think when I sit in front of somebody in an office setting as their provider, I can very explicitly say, take our product 2 days before period bleeding. That's how you should take it. That's how the physiology works. That's what you need to be doing. But you kind of have to be careful in a regulatory setting recommending a product that way if that's not what's said on the label. And so, you have to change the language to more like, take for pain as needed, even if it's before bleeding onset. And that just that throws up a bit of a barrier between you and the consumer, to have to phrase it in a way that feels less accessible but is compliant. And so, I think we can talk about how the menstrual cycle works. We can talk about the physiology. We can talk about how our products work and sort of how we recommend taking them. But of course, it has to be taken as needed for pain, menstrual pain specifically, even though we know that there's evidence that shows that medication also reduces bleeding. We really can't focus on the fact that it reduces bleeding.
Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that it does reduce bleeding, but, it's for everybody else to take and also decide for themselves, because everybody's, physiology is different. Yeah. So I realize that something that works for me might not work for someone else, but I know that the medication works for me, and I have started to do that, taking it 2 days before my period. And oh my gosh, I used to be taking ibuprofen or aspirin or whatever every single day. And now it's like I take 1 or 2 before, and it's changed my entire life.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And it's nice to be, for those people who can't take nonsteroidal anti-inflammatories, we do have the supplement product as well. And there are studies and randomized controlled trials and meta-analyses that show if you take even the supplement premenstrually, it is going to reduce the period pain and bleeding. So it's nice to be able to try it. For some people, they want to avoid medication. So it's nice to be able to try the supplement first and then ladder up to the medication, or combining both of them, depending on how severe the pain is. The supplement works on the pathway here, and the medication works on the pathway right below it. So our products have the opportunity of blocking at 2 points on that messenger cascade that I was talking about. And so it's nice to have, the supplement, the medication, or to be trying both, but to know that they're both working on that cascade and really trying to reduce those messengers.
Yeah, it's kind of like full circle. And that I consider holistic too. I think there's a way to make Western and then also supplements holistic, and I think that's it.
Yeah, 100%. It doesn't have to be either or. It can be both. It can be together. It can be lifestyle changes in addition to supplements and medication. It doesn't need to be just one piece of anything. It can be part of a whole approach.
Exactly.
I think what makes us stand out is that we went to the literature first, and we said what works for people. We're open to anything that works for somebody. What has the best evidence that it's going to work, and then let's make that product. Not this is, I don't know, however we discovered a product and then brought it to market. It starts with knowing that it works, and then comes from that place to try to reach people where they are. Because when they take the leap and they trust us to invest in the product, we want the product to deliver for them and to change their life and to give them their time back. And so in order to have that experience and to be able to share that experience and tell other people about it, you really have to provide something different and something that works. And so I think what makes us different is, founded by a physician, designed and developed by an OBGYN, ingredients that are known to work already, put together in a way that supports adherence and helps people learn about their menstrual cycle so that they can take the products properly. Because our mission is really, take our products properly and get that time back. Be who you want to be during that time when you may feel otherwise like something you don't want to feel like. And then if you start to understand how to take the products premenstrually, you start to understand the menstrual cycle, which as I was saying before, to me ladders up to bodily autonomy. And there's nothing more important to me than women's bodily autonomy.
What is the long-term vision for Wave By? You have a few core products right now. I think it's 3 core products.
Yes, we have 3 products. I actually have them here just from talking to other people.
Yeah, let's see them.
Yeah, so this is our cycle regulator. So this is a daily. I feel like it's blurry. I don't know. Sorry. So this one is basically treating everything that's not period pain and bleeding. It's focused on cycle regulation, ovarian health, migraine prevention, anxiety and depression, energy, and pregnancy preparation. So this is a daily you take every night. It has magnesium in it, which is for menstrual migraine prevention, but it can make you tired. But that one is really like engage every day, make the investment pre-menstrually so that the menstrual experience is better, and start to cycle track and engage and promote that ovarian health and ovarian longevity. So really good for PCOS and for like perimenopause and things like that. And
What would people normally be prescribed if they have PCOS? I know that there's like trizepatide, and I think, what some of my friends are on.
Yeah, so with PCOS, lifestyle interventions, they'll definitely try that first. And then you can try things like metformin to really like balance, help you regulate your insulin. In this product, there's inositol, which is evidence-based to help with insulin regulation and metabolic balance. So that's kind of like the over-the-counter option is something like this. Then they can bump you up to products like metformin. And then there's some good evidence that there's a couple of GLP-1s that are helping people get back into balance by helping them lose weight and sort of have those outcomes that you would have potentially with lifestyle interventions. This is our supplement that you take premenstrually to reduce period, that may reduce period pain and bleeding. And then this is our medication that, we also, if you have pain before cramping onset, we recommend you take premenstrually to reduce period pain and bleeding as well. But, the long-term vision is actually to try to combine these two and put them into one product and put that on the shelf in retail. So we'd like to get a mass market accessible product that's going to help people feel better, everyone in the whole country, feel better during their menstrual cycle. And then sort of make these direct-to-consumer products a little bit more customizable and focus more on cycle health as a whole. So figure out what people's goals are in the cycle health space and then meet those goals with maybe over-the-counter and then sort of laddering up care as needed.
So if someone has an irregular cycle, because I made a video about cycle syncing and how I take ibuprofen or something else 2 days before my period for pain, and they're like, I don't know when my cycle is. Is that something they can also do, taking it a few days before? Or how would they just start it the day of?
So you would take this product every day the whole month to start helping with cycle regulation. If you don't want to take this product and you have an irregular cycle and you're kind of just working with it, one thing you can do is buy LH predictor strips like on Amazon. Women vary on the front half of the cycle, but they tend to be quite consistent on the second half of the cycle, like woman to woman. They vary, like when your cycle length varies, it's really the front half of the cycle that's varying before ovulation. Post-ovulation, it's pretty much 14 days until you're going to get your period. So what I recommend for people with irregular cycles is to be tracking ovulation. Once you have that ovulation, your period's going to come in 14 days, and so you should take our products 12 days after ovulation.
Makes a lot of sense, and I've never heard that advice before. I've heard a lot of like, follow the moon or see what your mood or all these other things. But the LH predictor strips makes so much sense.
Yeah, and I would recommend instead of ibuprofen that you take our product the 2 days before because it's long acting. So ibuprofen you have to redose like every 6 hours, and if you're taking a very high dose every 8 hours, but this product is going to last 12 hours. So, we're happy to send you some, Val, and you can share your experience with our product.
Yeah, for next month. I mean, I've been going in and getting my prescription, but this is so much easier to just, order it and instead of having to get the super high dose of whatever ibuprofen. I think it's much. Plus, ibuprofen is just like, I don't know, sometimes it gives me kind of a weird stomach reaction.
Yep. You need to take a spoon or food or water for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. How do you see the conversation with women's health evolving in the next 5 years as a practitioner and also personally, like the trends that you've seen or even the conversations that we're having around regularity and pain?
It already has changed so much. I think the drive of women to have a better experience has already pushed the field forward so much. So as an OBGYN, I'm sitting in a very unique spot in that I'm a provider of care and I run a company, and a lot of OBGYNs are just sitting on the side and a lot of other people running companies sitting on this side. And so a lot of women are having not the best experience when they go to OBGYN for cycle management, and they're starting to come to these companies and these other places for care. And I do see that they're starting to converge. So I do see OBGYNs posting on our OBGYN groups, like, does anybody know a supplement for cycle regulation? Because the consumer, the patient is coming in asking for these things, but still wanting the doctor's recommendation and endorsement of the products. And so it was nice. It was really wonderful to be able to post and say, like, I actually developed a product that helps with cycle regulation, that is a supplement, that is evidence-based. And I do sort of see those two coming together. So I see the OBGYN community being pushed forward by women themselves who are demanding more. But I think as a whole, everybody's interested in just having more information. Like, is the cycle syncing, there's a huge study going on that right now. And it'll be really interesting to see, like, does it really push the care forward? Is there good evidence behind it? And I don't think that would happen without, like, this whole trend of cycle syncing having come up and women really, like, striving and desiring something for that and to have that control. And now we'll know, like, maybe they've just really pushed the field forward by pushing and driving and asking themselves. And so I think women are becoming more and more empowered and to ask questions about themselves, their bodies, what they can do, how they can get what they need from the system. And so I think that's the direction we're headed, which is, everyone pushing towards more information, more options, better options, not just pharmaceutical options, but sort of an all-encompassing approach.
I'm always wondering how we're starting to have so many of these conversations in the past 5 years. Were these conversations happening, with our mothers and grandmothers, and maybe 300 years ago, were women talking about their hot flashes and how they were feeling, and did they even understand menopause? Was there a different term for it? Like, we've come so far, but then, sometimes I'll make a video on TikTok and a woman in her 50s will comment, I never heard this before. And it, like, breaks my heart a little bit because I wish she would have known parts of the conversation. And even my mom, who's 53 years old, like, doesn't know that much. Even her menopause, I don't really see her supporting herself through it. So I think there's still a long way to go, but the fact that, most women have seen something about the cycle in the past 5 years gives me hope.
Yeah, 100%. And people like you, like, meeting people, like, in the aisle, like, where they are, and bringing them in and building that relationship with them and being a portal, entering them into this space, connecting them with people like me who are working on it in a different part of it. Like, I think there's a lot of people and I think there's a lot of women really trying to make it better for other women and for themselves. And it is an amazing time. I think as the country becomes more reactionary, it even fires us up even more to push things further. So I think that there's us communicating out here with each other and in the social media space that can't be stopped by, people on the national stage.
Yeah, I think everything we're doing right now is pushing us forward. People are like, this is a bad time. I'm like, nope, there's a lot of us that are working on amazing things, and all I see is hope right now.
Yeah, well, that's a good, amazing perspective. And yeah, we're all in it together, which is why it's amazing to be on the call together and supporting each other's brands.
Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on the call. Thank you so much for sharing. If people want to find Wave By, can you let us know where they can find you?
Yeah, so Wave By, this is how it's spelled. I don't even know if you can see. I feel like it's...
If you put it close to your face, that kind of helps. Okay. There it goes, yep.
WAVEBYE, and then we're at .co, waveby.co. So yeah.
And then on Instagram, what's the Instagram handle?
Yes, all of the handles are at Wave by WAVEBYE Inc. INC, Wave by Inc. across all the socials. So thank you so much, Val, for the opportunity to share that.
Thank you so much for coming on, and I will talk to you soon. I'll see you on social, but we'll talk more.
Absolutely.